Today I was aiming for wild plums. Did I succeed? Not sure, but they sure look nice. Let's see how I colored these in. I began a few of the berries with canary yellow. I am using a light hand for most of these layers. As you saw from the intro, not all of the plums will be the same color, so I will be working all of them up at once, and as such, this whole video will be in real time to make it easier to follow along. I begin to build shadows and layering in the colors to build up the blends of color I will need. Hi everyone, welcome back to this color along. I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. This is a free downloadable from Joanna Basford's blog that I have linked to in the show notes, but it is also in her Worlds of Wonder adult coloring book if you just want to get the book, also linked below, or already have the book. I'm zoomed in as much as I can, so hopefully everything is clear and easy to follow. I have the palettes listed for free on Patreon or Ko-fi, whichever works best for you, and they are also listed on screen as always. With Poppy Red, I continue building the shadows, but at this point I take the color out to the other plums and add in their first base layer. If coloring all the plums different colors is a little too much, just pick one plum and use that for your base of all the plums. I come back with Canary Yellow to add to the base layer of one of the plums. I come in with Tuscan Red and add in more shadow definition to the first few plums. On the last few plums, I am using the Tuscan Red to darken most of the plum to show that it is almost ripe. Each plum gets slightly more color until it takes over almost the entire plum. I am also beginning to think about shape at this point, and I work the color to give the plum a rounded shape. I blend in Parma Violet over the Tuscan Red to darken the color a little more towards a deep purplish blue. Again, each plum gets different amounts of color to reflect the differing levels of ripeness. For the ripest plum, I add in violet to get the ripe area even darker. Back to the less ripe plums, and I blend in Canary Yellow to the bottom unripe areas to add in more color to the base layer. I add in more Poppy Red, gently blending the color a little further into the yellow to make a smooth gradient of color. Again, each plum gets a different amount of color based on their level of ripeness. I want to start refining the colors more and begin blending them to their final color. I add Tuscan Red, really working up the shadows on some of the plums, and blending in with the riper areas on some other plums. I'm not pressing harder, just adding in more layers at this point. I feel like when I press hard, that is when I have finished an area, even though I know I can add more color on top. So I gently build up the layers of color until I get close, then I press hard to blend in all of the colors into the paper. Back to the riper plums, and I blend in more Parma Violet to get the color closer to that purple blue. I blend in violet on top using a medium pressure. I want to begin working the colors down into the paper and really get a good blend. I work up the shadows with dark brown to get them a little darker, help them stand out a little more, and to increase the contrast. I blend in Spanish orange into the shadows and a little further out, but I am careful to leave some of the yellow at the edge to maintain that less than ripe look. I do the same with poppy red, blending in with the shadows and taking it out just a little, much less than I did with the Spanish orange. The riper the plum, the more I can take it out. I blend in more canary yellow, helping smooth the gradient and fill in the yellow areas a little more. Back to the more ripe plums, and I add in Tuscan red to the riper areas, blending it in to darken the color more. I add in more Parma violet on top to keep blending and working up the gradient. More violet in the darkest sections of the ripe areas to get the color where I want it. I have been using at least a medium pressure for most of these layers. I blend in more Parma violet, but this time I take the color out a little more to help make a smooth gradient. My pressure begins on the medium side, but I lighten it up as I get to the lighter areas of the plum so I don't just cover the other colors. I want to blend the Parma violet in with the reds and oranges here, and a lighter pressure works best for that. I go through now and I begin to refine color a little more. I blend in poppy red to the shadows and riper areas of the plums. I blend that with more Spanish orange to tone down the red and to also blend to a better color. I add in more canary yellow to the lighter areas and blend that into the darker reddish orange areas, or the purple areas, depending on which plum it is. I blend out the lightest parts with white to really get the color into the paper and make sure all of the colors are well blended. I touch up the shadows with dark brown to make sure they are still dark. Then a quick little touch up with Parma violet followed by violet for the ripest plums, and these plums are finished. If this is your first time here, welcome! This is the first video for this bird, but I have worked up the other birds on this page if you want more color alongs. I have the playlist linked above in the cards, but feel free to jump in right here. Each video works alone. If you liked what you saw, make sure to hit that subscribe button to catch the next part of this color along. I'm moving onto the branches beginning with a layer of dark brown. A light layer since I don't want the branches to be too dark. I come in with a layer of sienna brown on top to tone down the dark brown a little. I add in a touch of apple green. Since these branches are so small, a hint of green will show that they are still growing. For the larger branch, I repeat the process. A light layer of dark brown over the whole branch and a little way down the leaf stems. I add in sienna brown on top, blending in with the dark brown. I also take that down the leaf stems just a little further. I use white on top to blend the colors together without darkening them. And although this is a very thin branch, I'm going to take both black and dark brown and add in a shadow to the bottom and blend in more sienna brown to the top of the branch to give it a little more character. And that is it for this page today. Thanks for coloring along with me on these plums. Let me know below or on social media if you colored along and how your coloring went. I'd love to know how your plums turned out. I want to thank you all so much for coming along and joining in with me. If you found this useful, please like and share so others can also find this video. If you liked how these plums came together, I have another video where I worked up coffee beans with similar colors. Check it out here, and until next time, happy coloring!